What's up, guys? It's your boy Bluenotesbrandon. In today's video, I'm coming with another banger, showing you guys exactly my top 3 favorite list. Now, in 2024 and before, what's always worked for me is going to be these 3 motivated homeowners lists, and number 3 is going to be my favorite, so make sure that you stay into the end. Now, not only that, guys, I'm going to be explaining to you why these lists are actually so good to pull, and I'm going to talk about the importance of list stacking. So with that being said, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel, you smash that like button, and let's go ahead and get this thing started. Alright guys, so down below in the description, I'm going to be leaving all the resources on where I actually get these lists. But number 1 is going to be probate. Now, I know you're probably asking, Brandon, what is probate? So probate is actually when somebody has passed away, right, or has been deceased for a long time, and you basically go ahead and inherit the property. The homeowner inherits the property. So let's just say that you have a person named Jason, and unfortunately they passed away. And now their heirs, right, their sons or daughters or whoever the case may be, actually inherits that home. They are now the owner of that actual property. So now, because of that, they may be motivated to actually sell that home with convenience, with obviously fast cash. Now, let me tell you why I love this list. Number 1, just because of the mere fact that there's gonna be a lot of motivation there. There's gonna be the fact that they may have to pay for funeral expenses, maybe debt that was left behind, and a bunch of other things that come along with just unfortunately somebody passing away. Number 2, there isn't a lot of value when it comes down to the money or work that they actually put into the house because the house wasn't there. So this happens many times when it comes down from a mother or father leaving the house to their children. They didn't work for that house. They didn't go ahead and put their blood, sweat, and tears into renovating it or treating it the way that they wanted to. And a lot of times, if it's not in good shape, they're gonna go ahead and just sell out of convenience. And then number 3 is going to be the equity. Most of the times, if that homeowner has passed away and left a lot of equity, well, the other person, maybe they just don't know how to manage a home, they don't want a home, and this is something that just came up abruptly, or in all reality, they just don't feel comfortable being in a home that their parents had or whoever it was that now passed away. So probate is a great way for you to go ahead and start getting motivated homeowners in your area. Now, I do recommend that you use different various tactics, but what I like to use is either cold calling or direct mail. Now, there's going to be a specific postcard that you want to use. I recommend Yellow Letters HQ because they have a really good one that you can use with a personal touch. But also when it comes down to cold calling, you don't want to act like as you already know that somebody passed away. You want to treat them just like a regular call and just go ahead and make sure that you're nurturing them, that you're consoling them, and understanding that it could be a process. Now, with probate, there's actually 2 types. There's going to be summary of administration and a full administration. Now, what this basically just means in layman's terms is that in all reality, one is longer and one is shorter. And depending on the situation, right, and how far along they've actually went through the probate process or how long ago this person has died, you can either do the shorter version or the longer version. Now, there's also probate attorneys out there that will collect their fee after the property has closed, which I definitely recommend that you do. So anyways, that's going to be tip number 1 when it comes down to pulling your list, is going to be probate. Alright guys, so number 2 on my list is going to be list pendants, aka pre-foreclosures. Now, what is a pre-foreclosure? Well, it's actually the process before the foreclosure. And a foreclosure essentially is where the banking institution is letting them know that they're now going to be taking back their asset. In this case, it's going to be the actual home. So most people traditionally use FHA or conventional financing, which is essentially just a loan type. Now, after they go ahead and purchase their property, let's just say that life is lifing and unfortunately they're just not able to make their payments. Well, after a certain amount of time, depending on the banking institution, they're going to go ahead and start the pre-foreclosure process, which is literally just disclosing or letting them know, hey, listen, if you do not catch up or work with us, we're going to go ahead and start the process of taking back the property and you'll no longer be able to go ahead and live at this home. So the reason why I love this list is because of the fact that there's some type of financial hardship going on. It could be that maybe there was a health issue and they've fallen behind, maybe they lost their job, or maybe unfortunately they're just not managing life correctly and they just have fallen behind. But either way, most of the times these people do not know that there's still room for a solution. They think that essentially they can't list the property with a realtor because they don't have the money to do so. Maybe the property just is not in the best shape, so they don't have enough money to renovate it to list it. Or maybe they just don't know that they can actually still sell to a cash buyer. They're just trying to go ahead and catch up, and unfortunately they just can't do it. And many of these people, from what I've come across, they actually are okay with just letting the property go. So when it comes down to saving somebody from pre-foreclosure, typically if you have a foreclosure on your record, it's going to be really hard for you to buy another property, let alone even rent. So with that being said, guys, the list pendants list, aka the pre-foreclosure list, is really, really important, and it's one list that I've been using for a very long time. Now, you want to make sure that when you contact these people, do not act like you already know that they're in pre-foreclosure. You want to go ahead and literally just make a casual conversation, let them open up to you as you go ahead and give them a solution. Now, there's various places and resources out there to figure out possibly how much they actually owe, and as long as that amount is less than what you're trying to wholesale it for, you're going to be golden. So that's going to be number 2. All right, guys, so before I get to the best list, the list that I love, the list that actually made me my first 6 figures, I want to go ahead and let you know that I am dropping daily content on my other social media platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and also Facebook and YouTube Reels. Now, with that being said, I want to go ahead and talk about the importance of list stacking. Now, list stacking is essentially where you're going to go ahead and take maybe 1 or 2 lists and you're going to go ahead and actually compile them together. Think about it kind of like a sandwich. And what you're doing is that you're trying to find multiple people that have multiple motivations. So let's just say that you have John Barry. Now, John Barry's on your probate list, and unfortunately, he just inherited a property. Now, let's just say that before John Barry's father passed away, he also was in pre-foreclosure. And now you pulled a list just like that. Well, the cool thing is that now John Barry unfortunately has 2 problems. The first problem is that now he has inherited a debt, which is going to leave him with multiple levels of motivation. Somebody that has a high level to probably want a fast, convenient cash offer. So I love list stacking my list and keeping them in all one database. Now, when I first started out and I didn't have too much money, I used to basically use a Microsoft compiler, which I definitely recommend that you go ahead and find somebody on Fiverr or Upwork to create for you. Now, it does take a lot of time, and I did have a Mac, and it was really, really difficult because for some odd reason, it's just Microsoft and Excel doesn't work really well when it comes down to creating what's called macros on Mac. But the cool thing about it, guys, is that there are other softwares out there as well that I'll leave down below that you can go ahead and use their CRM system to go ahead and have levels of multiple list stacking. And I love to do this across all of my database. So for example, I might have, let's just say 100,000 records of just different types of lists. At that point in time, I might use a trigger filter that says, you know what, I want properties or homeowners that are on multiple lists, a minimum of 5. And let's just say it's 1,000 people. I might take that list and maybe do a direct mail campaign, reaching out to them through postcards. And then the coolest thing about it is that I know that they have 5 problems going on. So that's going to go ahead and yield me a high profit, hopefully getting a deep discount and wholesaling huge commission checks. So that's what list stacking is, and I definitely recommend. But now into my list number 3, my favorite. Let's get it. All right, guys, number 3 is going to be code violations. Now, for those of you guys that don't know what code violations is basically where the city or municipality is going to go ahead and fine that property for, let's just say, a broken fence, multiple cars, maybe just bad looking landscaping, bad roofs, maybe there's some type of leak, maybe it's a condemned property, whatever the case may be, the city is fining them sometimes up to $500 per day. Now let me go ahead and give you guys a quick context on why code violations is my favorite list. Number 1, it's very hard for you to get this actual list on any of these websites that I'm going to go ahead and list down below. And the reason why is because there's so many municipalities and so many different cities out there, and in all honesty, it's just really hard for these big companies to get this type of data. Now, that is a problem, but it's actually a pro and a con to it. Number 1, the con is that you can go basically and have to do this on your own. You may have to go to the city, you may have to call them, you may have to email them, and you may have to go ahead and get this list, right, with doing a little bit more due diligence. Obviously, without having to go ahead and just jump on the computer and download it. But the cool thing about it is that not everybody else is going to have access to this list. Now, what do I mean by that? For example, the resources that I'm sharing down below, a lot of you guys can just go on there, get on there, find your city, find your state, find your county, and pull those lists. Well, with the code violations list, you don't have quick and ready access to it. So that's going to be a great pro because many other people are always looking for a best way out without trying to go ahead and put in too much work. Now, the next thing I love about code violations is that in all reality, guys, you have to make sure that you're going in there and you're doing your due diligence on finding what they're being violated for. And they have to make sure that they actually have some type of real estate provided with it. When I first used to go ahead and pull my code violations list, I really used to go ahead and contact everybody on there. And unfortunately, many of the people didn't even have real estate attached to it because they were just being fined for something like commercial or industrial properties. So you have to make sure that the property that you're looking at actually is real estate owned in a single family residence. But number two is you want to go ahead and look at the ones that may have been condemned, may have been for grass, maybe for gutters, maybe for a window, maybe for a bad fence, because what that's telling you is that obviously they're not upkeeping the property, maybe it's abandoned, and these are going to be great things. Now, like I told you before, many of these properties are being fined $100 a day, $200 a day, $500 a day, but the greatest thing about what I was able to learn within the counties that I go ahead and wholesale in is that there's this thing called lien amnesty. And lien amnesty for us is essentially where if you're going to go ahead and purchase this property and you're going to bring it back up to the correct code, right, or up to par, they'll actually take away most, if not all, of the fines, right? So for example, my second deal when it came down to wholesaling actually had about $130,000 in code violations. Now, the homeowner unfortunately didn't really know what to do. He said he didn't have the money to go ahead and pay for that and just kept, letting the city go ahead and fine them. Now, what I ended up finding out is that as long as we brought it back up to code, which was just cutting the grass, I think repairing a window and just cleaning it all up, that they would go ahead and actually remove all the fines if we were going to go ahead and purchase the property. So I actually ended up getting all the fines removed and I got that property for literally $10,000, right? I ended up making a $50,000 assignment fee just because a homeowner thought that it was just too far gone. So I definitely recommend that you go after the code violation list in your area, in your city, and you let me know how it goes. Now, with that being said, guys, make sure that you go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. As I said before, I'm going to be starting to put more and more content out there. Please make sure you smash that like button, comment down below, make sure you get up with me, let me know what other stuff you'd like for me to cover, and just give me a shout out. Peace and love from your boy, Bluenotesbrandon. Let's get it.